Hey, how's it hanging, everyone? MMA Rituals reporting in, and today I'll be hitting you with my list for the 12 best prospects off Dana White's Contender Series Season 9. This was a wonderful season of Contender Series, one of the best we've ever had, some unforgettable scraps, legendary finishes, and tons of great prospects that you've got to keep an eye out for. Now, I know that the title of this video said 10, but when I started compiling a list of names, I just didn't have it within me to cut these two extra ones. So let's get into them right now. Whoa, not like that. Let's get into this video right now by starting off with my number 12 placement, Tommy McMillan. Now, this guy trains at the MMA Labs. He had Sugar Sean O'Malley in his corner for his Contender Series fight, and he fought David Magoyan, a great, well-rounded fighter, a Russian-Armenian who had Arman Sarukian in his corner. I didn't give this guy a chance. I thought Magoyan was going to destroy him, and to be fair, in the first round, he nearly did. But the reason I had to put McMillan here, and I could not deny him, is that even though he did get destroyed in that first round, the grit that he showed, the heart, the fighting spirit, it was undeniable. I know that his style is maybe not the most fan-friendly because he is a pressure-forward grappler. He's looking for takedowns. He does go for ground and pounds, and he has interesting entries. You know, he's got good wrestling. But he was showing stuff on the feet, too, that, you know, he's just proving that he's not one-dimensional. Obviously, training with a guy like Sean O'Malley, he's got to have some tricks up his sleeve on the feet. You know, he can't be hopeless there at a gym like that, but you know, he showed that he has determination to push when the getting gets tough. When the going gets tough. That's the expression. Getting gets tough. What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Tommy McMillan. Keep your eye on him. Moving on. Larian Douglas. Now, I couldn't ignore this guy either. The reason that these two are 12 and 11 is because, you know, McMillan, he went to decision. He got beat up in the first round. It was a great performance. I loved his heart. But, you know, could have done better. Larian Douglas, the reason he's number 11 is because the level of competition was not the highest. Now, he knocked out Cam Teague. He dropped him with a straight right hand. Teague got back up, flurries against the cage, left hook, sleeps him out cold, face plant KO. Brutal. Larian Douglas has tremendous power. I cannot wait to see his debut because of that. And I can't wait to see highlight finishes that I'm expecting from this guy in the future. However, Cam Teague, not a world beater. Let's just put it nicely. He kind of sucks. To be fair to him, he's only lost to Kevin Vallejos last season and Larian Douglas this season. So, you know, Vallejos has had success in the UFC. He's won 2 fights. And Douglas, we will see. So maybe the Teague win is not going to age as poorly as I'm thinking it does. But off eye test alone, Teague did not seem to be the highest level opponent out there. So that's why Larian Douglas is number 11. But just off physique, off just presence in the octagon, power, dynamic striking, this guy looked sensational. You know, he's 30, which isn't great. That's not really the age that you want a contender to be, but he seems complete. He doesn't seem like he needs to do any more growing. I'm looking forward to his debut. Moving on to number 10, Juan Diaz. This guy fought on the last week of Contender Series, and he looked great. He fought Kwon Won Il, pretty boy, Korean striker, great striker, challenged for 1 FC belts. You know, great fighter over there. And in the first round, he drops him on the feet. Now, I thought going in, this guy was just going to look for cage stalling and grappling, and he'll just slug it out on the feet while it's there. But he won't have anything technical. He won't be good enough to stand with Pretty Boy. I mean, I didn't see that happening at all. And in the first round, he outstrikes him. He drops him. He's doing better. He makes him wear a mask of blood on his face. You know, he's just pounding him from every direction. Second round, slows it down at the start with some grappling, but at the end of the round, sleeps him with this beautiful spinning back elbow. Sensational. One of the best knockouts of this season. One of the best knockouts in Contender Series history. That's why Juan Diaz is here. I also respect the opponent a lot. I do. I mean, he might not seem like the greatest opposition because he got slept by that, but listen, I mean, most people are getting slept by that. And Pretty Boy's a great fighter. I respect him. So, Juan Diaz, number 10. Let's move on to number 9. We've got Louis Jourdain here, brother of Charles Jourdain, who just won the most recent fight card in Vancouver against Davy Grant. Charles Jourdain, beautiful flying knee, right on the nose of Davy Grant, and then subs him with that classic guillotine. But his brother, Louis Jourdain, the boxing, the hands, that's what really stood out here. I mean, he did get the rear naked choke finish in round 3, but before that, it was just honestly a display. It was a masterclass. He was barely getting touched. The head movement, the jab, straight punches. He was staying within his stance. This guy, he's very boxing heavy. It's not really anything other than that in this guy's game, but he's such a high level there that, I think he can go far at bantamweight. I don't know if I'm ready to say rankings yet, but just off boxing alone, he looked like one of the better boxers at 135. Could be the level of competition. He was fighting a BJJ guy, but training at Fighting Nerds, that's nothing to scoff at. So, Louis Jourdain, great performance. Looking forward to his debut. Let's go on to Curtis Campbell. Now, this one's tricky. I put him high. His opponent wasn't the greatest opposition, a guy from Senegal named Demba Sek, but he was enormous. I mean, this dude looked like 6'1", 6'2", at 145 pounds, carved out of stone. Unbelievable physique. The guy looked like a monster out there, and Campbell looked like the kid you picked on in 3rd grade. I mean, he looks like the kid who gets his lunch money stolen, and he's picked last for dodgeball in gym class, I mean, this guy, he doesn't look intimidating. He's got these goofy eyes. He's got this really unassuming look about him. And he just goes out there, picks this guy up, slams him on the ground, TKOs him in a minute. It was vicious. It was brutal. There was no respect shown. He did not fear his opponent, this man who looked like something out of a nightmare. And I respect that a lot. This guy's only 23, and he fought like that. That level of confidence. That experience. I can't wait to see more from him. And he's from Liverpool, which is great. I do like them. So, let's move on now. Got another fella from England. Louis Lee Scott. 10-0. Dude's 25. Aries FC champ. Now, he fought a BJJ nerd. Kaushik Sai Kumar, right? Guy trains in Virginia with Ryan Hall, which, is respectable. I respect Ryan Hall. I know a lot of people don't, but I respect Ryan Hall. Now, the guy was basically fighting an exact Ryan Hall game plan. Rolling for legs, looking for creative jiu-jitsu entries, looking for rolling back takes, trying to get sloppy, slow entry takedowns. It was not a lot on the feet other than some kicks. So the opponent was not the best, but, Scott played it safe. He fought with his head. He was very measured, and I respected his performance a lot. He got a 3rd round finish. He didn't just take this guy to decision. He didn't cruise. He didn't want to just win by the safest means possible. He knew he needed to finish this guy, and that's what he did. Now, I've seen his Aries FC fights too, which I respect. He beat DeMarte Pena, who's a good fighter, and I respect that win a lot. And Aries FC as an organization, I I really respect it. So I think this guy has great potential. Moving on to my number 6 placement, we got Imanol Rodriguez. This dude fought on The Ultimate Fighter with Cormier versus Chael. He's 6-0, 25 years old. First flyweight. Here we go. First flyweight. You know, maybe that's why he's this high. Maybe not. But it probably is. Now, he got a great KO win over Hoki Kunsakat was the guy's name. Now, he was getting touched up in that fight. He was getting touched up in that fight. His nose was a little red. He was getting hit by some shots. Why can I not speak, man? Why can I not speak? He was getting hit by some shots in that fight. It's true. His nose was red. It was leaking a tiny bit. But he put it on that guy. He knocked him out viciously, and that's what you need to see. He showed good timing. The guy, shot in for a takedown right while Rodriguez blasted him with a right hand, dropped him bad. Swarmed for a TKO, pounded him on the ground. The guy got up, finished him with a big right hook. Beautiful KO. Now, Rodriguez, I've got this high because he looked great on The Ultimate Fighter too. Now, he lost in the finale, but me and everybody else who watched it thought it was a robbery. Joseph Morales did not beat this guy. And then Joseph Morales got into his UFC, or I should say tough finale fight because of this robbery over Imanol Rodriguez. And then, as an underdog, Morales finished Alibi Idris, the undefeated Kazakh guy who everybody thought was just going to steamroll the competition. He bulldozes everybody. Nobody's going to mess with this guy. He's 10-0. He's got an EV at the end of his name. He doesn't. But you know what I mean. He's from that region of the world. He's got a dominant grappling style, well-rounded. Everybody thought that Alibi was the front runner, definitely going to get into the UFC. And Morales subbed him. And Rodriguez beat this guy. We all saw him do it. We watched him beat this guy. So I have to put Rodriguez this high. Even if, he got touched up a little bit by this, random Brazilian on Contender Series, I'm not letting that downplay what I saw. This guy beat Joseph Morales. He did. He should be in the UFC already. I mean, he probably would have beaten Alibi Idris. So, yeah, let's move on. We're getting into my top 5 picks now. Jose Delano. I don't have a ton to say about this guy. He just looked real fundamental. I loved watching his striking. He fought Manuel Exposito, an Argentinian with, a decent record. That guy seemed a little one-dimensional. He was kind of just a punching bag, to be honest. But Delano was very measured, very calculated, and I loved his striking. I want to see this guy in the UFC taking on more featherweights just to see his striking some more. It was great. It was a treat to watch. Watch this fight if you haven't. He didn't get some crazy highlight reel finish. It was just a truly beautiful performance. Won every round, dominated a fight against a fine level of opposition. Not the most talented fighter you're ever going to see, but a good, worthy opponent, somebody who deserved to be there. And he just dominated him. It was a masterclass. Check it out. Great striking. Moving on. Murtazali Magomedov. This guy's 10-0. Russian or Kyrgyzstani. Is he representing some weird place? Maybe Turkey. I don't mean weird like that. Just like place that he, isn't born in. I'm not exactly sure. I see a red flag here. But listen, the point is that this guy, he fought this undefeated Mexican dude who trains with Team Habib. Brian Zurcher. That's right. And Zurcher was a favorite going into that fight, and everybody was picking Zurcher. And it seemed like the logical pick was Zurcher. It seemed like that was the hardcore's pick, right? Because I think the trick of this fight is that you see the Magomedov name and you're like, oh, this guy, undefeated, he's certainly going to win this fight, right? He's going to do it however he wants. He's fighting another undefeated fighter, but the Magomedov name, it's like, oh wow, that means something big. But if you look into it, you realize Bryan Zurcher trains with Team Habib. He's one of the main sparring partners of Islam Makhachev. So when you look into it there, you're like, oh, this is the guy who actually trains with those Magomedovs, those EVs and OVs. So this was a bit of a hardcore test because I saw a lot of people picking Zurcher to win. I did not. Murtazali Magomedov starched this guy in a round and looked great doing it. He's 26. He's got an entertaining fight style, which is hard to come by for them, I'm just being honest. But yeah, you can't ignore it. I gotta have him this high. I believe in him. I think he's a great fighter. Let's move on, man. Mandel Nalo. This is my hot take of this video, I guess. Controversial pick, because this guy went 4-3 in Bellator. He's 36 years old. But here's the thing. He's at TriStar Gym with Firas Zahabi, right? This is a finished product right here. This guy is really good right now. And if he's going to make a run, it's going to be right now. He's going to get in the UFC. He needs to win his fights and get to the rankings quick. Now, it might sound optimistic, but I'm just saying what I saw from this guy, eye test alone, that's it, was spectacular. I was moved. I love this guy's striking. I think he's special. That's all this is. This is a vibes pick. I know it's silly to put him this high because he's 36, but I'm just saying that what I saw from this guy was a drastic improvement from whatever dude fought at Bellator and had, a win one, lose one, win one, lose one sort of career there. I know that he's been putting in the work with Zahabi. It was clear to see. He looked so good in this fight. And he fought Samuel Silva. This guy, if you don't know, this was the dude who beat George Hardwick and made MMA Guru crash out. Okay, Samuel Silva went to England and stole George Hardwick's Cage Warriors belt. That's what got him this opportunity on Contender Series. I'm sure that if Hardwick fought Silva and won, then he would have had this spot against Nalo. And I think he still would have gotten knocked out. After seeing this guy's performance, I can say with certainty, he would have chinned Hardwick in a round. I think this guy's great. I just want to see him get into the UFC, win 3 fights, and then get a ranking spot. As long as they're like great wins, knockouts, whatever. There's no building with this guy. He's 36. You know what you've got here. Dana signed him. He knows what he's doing with him. But I like the potential. I think he's got a high ceiling. Let's move on to my number 2 pick, Tommy Gant. Not a whole bunch to say here other than that this guy is just, I know he's gonna do great things. He's got tremendous wrestling credentials. He got a submission win in the first round, looked dominant, had basically no resistance. He's 11-0, he's 32. This guy's just going to steamroll through some comp, man. This guy's going to steamroll. That's all I got to say, pretty much. I mean, I don't even know what else there is to say. He just, in his fight, it wasn't very long. Not too much happened. He just picked the guy up, slammed him down. Was just controlling this guy with ease, doing whatever he wanted to him on the ground. So, yeah, I'm putting him at number 2. I just believe in this guy. Not too much to say. Moving on to my number 1 pick, it's John Pork. Who else was it going to be? Realistically, who else was this going to be? The dude is Islam Makhachev's striking coach. He's not a sparring partner. He's not just some Team Habib, bum that they keep around to beat up on. This guy is Islam's not sparring. Sorry. This guy is Islam's striking coach. He teaches Islam his striking. Muay Thai champion. Kickboxing champion. Won many belts. I know I made a video on this guy. I'm not going to say dissing because it wasn't dissing, but just dunking on some people who were glazing him too hard because they just lacked some knowledge about his Muay Thai career that I think is important to know when comparing him to the rest of the lightweight rankings right now. Because a lot of people are saying that Magomed Zainikov, Mr. John Pork here, can just hop into the UFC and basically at the level he's at right now, at the age of 30, with a record of 8-0, he beats everybody in the rankings other than Sarukian and Topuria, which is ridiculous. Now, that being said, I still think there's about 5 or 6 ranked fighters this guy beats, which also sounds like tremendous glaze. Unwarranted, some might say. I mean, his wins aren't spectacular. Lucas Caldas, who he beat on Contender Series, he was technically undefeated. His one loss was a DQ, and he was winning that fight clearly. But Lucas Caldas was not some tremendously hyped up prospect that, everybody had their eye on. It was just off eye test. He sets the lightweight strike record across Contender Series, UFC, road to UFC, tough, anything with fighting. This dude set the lightweight strike record. He landed 235 strikes on this guy. He landed 101 strikes in the 3rd round. Caldas landed 10. Okay? And Caldas is a striker too. He's also a Muay Thai striker. This was 2 strikers striking with each other the whole fight long. And John Pork destroyed him. Looked unbelievable. He's at such a high level already. Such a high level. So, yeah. Guys, that was my video. These are my picks. Top 12 best prospects off Dana White's Contender Series, Season 9. If I forgot anybody, please let me know down in the comments. Do not be afraid to comment. I have a ridiculous hatred against weight divisions of 170 pounds and above. 170, I enjoy some fighters. It's not my favorite division, but I enjoy a couple fighters. I like Sean Brady a lot. That's kind of it, to be honest. But 185, 205, 265, I'm just not going to put any of those guys here. It's too inconsistent for me to actually be able to tell whether they're good or not. You can't go off eye test because the talent pool at these weight classes is just so shallow that it's not even up to your knees. I'm just not doing it. So I know that you're probably looking at this and you're like, oh my gosh, it's all a bunch of featherweights. It's a bunch of bantamweights. I got, 3 lightweights at the top, 1 flyweight on here. I understand, but these are just the premier weight divisions in MMA. That's just how it is. These are where the best fighters are. And maybe that's bias. If you want to debate with that, I'll debate that with you in the comments. Let's talk. I'll respond. We can converse. I can give you my thoughts. You can give me you can give me your thoughts on it. But yeah, if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, all the good YouTube stuff that'll help me out, help the channel grow. And thank you.